This is The Neutral Position, hosted by Nick Palmisciano, bringing honesty and reason back into conversation. Here's your host, Nick Palmisciano.
Hey guys, welcome to The Neutral Position. Today I have Robert Dufresne, former Special Forces operator, all-around good guy, musician extraordinaire, and now entrepreneur. He's on the show because Nate Fair, my good friend, who you guys saw a little while ago, said, if you don't have him on the show, I'm never going to talk to you again, and I'm going to move to the top of a mountain and never play more music. So, Robert, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, Nick. Well, I am a musician now. That's all I do. I spent a total of 32 years either in the Army on active duty or working for the Department of Defense.
That's a lot of years.
It is a lot of years.
You don't look like a man that has been working for 32 years.
Well, thank you so much.
Like, I look like a man that's been working for 32 years.
No, you don't.
I'll
give you 30, 31.
I look like, you know, Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood looks like he's been working for 32 years. But,
no, totally would not expect 32 years of service to come out of his mouth.
Yeah. I
Well,
would have guessed that you're like, 38, maybe knocking maybe like a well-groomed 42.
I wish I felt like that, but I don't.
So, what made you join the military?
Oh, goodness. As long as I can remember having memories, I wanted to jump out of airplanes and be an Army guy. So my mom's first husband, Phil, my dad, he was in the Army. He was in the infantry. And I just remember I grew up mostly at Fort Benning. I was born in Honolulu, but we moved shortly after I was born to Fort Benning. And I just remember...
That's a rough transition.
It was
You're like,
really, yeah.
Oh, I was born in paradise.
Yeah.
And now I'm in the opposite of paradise.
Well, I didn't even... I don't really even have any memories of being in Hawaii. I've been back many times since. I was just there last week for a vacation, and what a beautiful place. Yeah. But, as a child, no real memories of it.
No memories of it, yeah.
My most impressionable memories from when I was a kid was just, seeing green Army trucks rolling around.
Is your mom Hawaiian?
She is not. I was adopted.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah,
okay.
I was adopted. I forget how many months old I was, but at about a year and a half of age, we moved to Fort Benning, Georgia, and that's when I was hooked.
You totally ruined my setup. I was setting it up for the question of how are you treated in Hawaii if you were Hawaiian?
Right.
But that you ruined that.
Thank you very much. That's my goal. Ruin various strategies you guys have today.
This show's, I'm out of here. Yeah. Sorry. So Fort Benning, now Fort Moore, right? Fort Moore.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. Why am I asking? Now Fort Moore. And that is, I spent a lot of time at Fort Benning. It's not the worst base. It's not the worst. It's not like Fort Polk,
Where's Fort Polk?
That's in competition for being the worst, I think.
Yeah,
probably.
Fort Polk is up there for being the worst, I think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about what would be worse than Fort Polk.
God,
it's
tough.
It's
that's a tough one to beat as far as badness goes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's how was it growing up there?
I loved it.
Oh, you did? You loved it?
I loved it in Fort Benning. But, I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I had my little microcosm of friends. And
it's safe. So you're running around.
Totally
They let
safe.
you run probably freer than if you weren't on base.
Yeah. Running through the woods during the day. It was kind of the cliche of, didn't come back home until the street lights went on, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Digging holes.
Yep.
Throwing rocks, you
Yep.
know, in the
Classic.
woods, things like
Yeah,
that.
rock fights.
That's right.
That's a thing. I haven't thought about that in a while. Like
Yeah.
when I think about like what my kids are allowed to do versus like what we did, it's like, hey, let's have a rock fight.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This is an obvious bad
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
There was always one kid that like, you know, for the most part, it's like little rocks, right?
kid who
There's
took it
always
too
one kid
seriously,
who's
it's
like, hey, that's a baseball sized rock,
It's like, dude,
Jimmy.
what are you doing? Yeah, like,
Yeah,
come
like you
on,
just
man.
brained Chad. Now we have to bury the body.
That's a certain type of
you know?
person who's the kid that like grabs the boulder and just chucks it at you point blank range. It's like, yeah, I don't have much in common with that kid.
Yeah. You ruined all the fun, dude.
You ruined it. Now
Hope
we
you're
can't,
happy.
Now we can't have a rock fight.
Yeah.
I grew up on the water in Massachusetts, and we used to have jellyfish fights.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you win.
I said that to my kids the other because we were at the beach right before school started, and like, you know, one of them found a jellyfish, and I just blurted it out. I was like, oh, these are the same ones we used to have jellyfish fights with. And
I thought you were gonna say
Record scratch.
I thought you were just gonna
yeah,
say,
it was a record. So they were like, what do you
You did what?
What do you mean? You know, because there's like a time of year where there are just a ton of jellyfish that basically wash up, you know, near or on the shore in Massachusetts. And it was like, we were kids and we were always like on the beach, and it was like, hey, we can chuck these.
My gosh.
Every once in a while you'd pick one that stung.
Yeah.
You know, but for the most part, it was like those moonbeam ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, they're all clear.
I actually have a traumatic childhood memory of my brother, who's 7 years older. You know, and I was like maybe 6. I don't know. I didn't know they wouldn't sting you if they're like. I just remember him chasing me across the beach with a jellyfish and like eventually like chucking it at me. So as soon as you said that, like you took me back to a dark place.
Do you want to talk about it?
Maybe later.
Or are you going to let us actually talk to our guest? God, you're the worst, Dan.
I like what you're doing. You keep that up.
I got you.
So, great childhood, Fort Benning, and
Yeah.
this leads to you joining.
It does, because I was just surrounded at that time with, you know, guys jumping out of airplanes, people running around in the woods. I could see, I remember from our neighborhood, I could sometimes see, you know, parachute flares and stuff going off, and you hear explosions in the distance. And I don't know what it was about me, but there was just something that was extremely
like,
alluring about it.
I need to do this.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to do
Yeah.
ever since I can remember having memories.
That's probably because as a kid, you never had to go through CIF.
That's right. They don't show that part, the dark underbelly of the Army. Oh my gosh.
So how old were you when you joined?
I was 17.
And you joined into what?
11 Bravo infantry. Had a Ranger contract, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to, you know, do something along those lines. So my first assignment was 2nd Ranger Battalion, and loved that. It was a short stay.
What years were you there?
I got there in 90, right after everybody returned from Panama, which
Must have been
a
tough.
great time to get to Ranger
That
Battalion.
must have been tough.
Yeah.
Because they were all like,
Oh man.
I am a badass.
That's
and
right.
You are terrible.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they were.
And they were.
And I
They
was.
were. Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
to me it was the best place for me personally to start out in the Army. I learned a ton, you know, at that age. I mean, like they always said, there are 2 kinds of Rangers: strong Ranger, smart Ranger. You know, I'd like to think that I was somewhere in the middle, but of course you get there, you're just learning. I got very strong, very quick, just doing a lot of push-ups, being a dummy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, I think it served me well later on.
And then you transitioned from Ranger Regiment to SF.
I did. So I gotten hurt. I went down the road to a personnel service company while I healed up. And for a little while there, I was giving PCS briefings when people had to, you know, be reassigned from Fort Lewis to somewhere else. I would just kind of walk people through the paperwork as they.
That's tough, man.
Yeah, it
It's
was
tough going from what you were doing to that.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
But I made a lot of friends. I learned.
And that's like a whole MOS. You know?
It totally
There's
is.
a person that went into the Army to do that job.
That's right.
And God bless them.
That's right. You know, I gained a lot of perspective.
Yeah.
Which I needed. You know, I was still growing up at that time, And then you get to the Ranger Regiment, and it's like, you are the best ever. And those guys are. But then I left, and while I was healing up, I'm like...
Did you have that haircut?
I totally had that haircut.
Yeah,
Man.
Yeah, you did.
Back in those days?
Yeah, you did.
Always. And I kept it. When I left, I remember people looking at me like
what is wrong with you?
What is
haircut?
going on?
Yeah.
But I learned a lot more about the Army in those months, that period of time, that it wasn't all just infantry and who are this and, a bunch of badasses. There are people that do all sorts of things in the Army, and they are in their own ways badasses at whatever it is. So having that experience early on, I think really served me later on in life, not just in the Army. And then at some point, my friend Dan Mackey was going to go to selection, and he talked me into it. I had no idea what it was. He was like, nobody can stop you. I'm like, what? No one can stop me from going?
What is selection for the non-military?
Thank you. It was SFAS at the time, Special Forces Assessment and Selection.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was just kind of the initial gate to get your foot in the door to determine whether or not you are a person who's ready to go through that training.
Gotcha.
It's a tryout.
That's what I figured.
It's a tryout for the training.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got you.
So it's not like if you pass, you're now Special Forces.
If you pass, you're allowed to try to be Special Forces.
Correct. Yes.
Gotcha.
The Army loves gates.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like those gates actually are incredibly important because it keeps people,
for sure,
like people that are not inclined to do things, that won't get off the X, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like they never get to do these things. And that's an important part, is like if it's all teed up, just because somebody can kind of endure probably isn't enough. They have to want to take the steps and go through the grind of getting into the system, because that's what's going to be necessary to kind of keep succeeding once you're in.
I think you're right.
That's one of the things the Army does that is annoying, but I think actually makes sense.
I agree. My buddy Dan also came from the Ranger, 2nd Ranger Battalion, and at the time, he found his way. It was kind of that's just where you went. If you were hurt or for some reason you had to leave the Rangers, they were just at that period of time sending everybody to that personnel service company, because everybody can move paper and stuff like that. Yep. We didn't know how to do it well. The professionals did that, but Dan came over. He's like, "Hey man, I'm going to go to selection. You want to go with me?" And like I said,
so you go.
I just went. I made it through on my first time. I'm going to chalk that up to a lot of dumb luck and just being that age. I think I was 20. Yeah, I was 20 years. I just turned 20 years old.
Yep.
So, I was 195 pounds of what the fuck's next?
Twisted steel and sex appeal.
That's right, and dumb enough to think that, well, this is perfectly fine. This is normal Army stuff. Unfortunately, Dan didn't make it that time. I think he went back like 3 times, and for whatever reason didn't make it. I remember him telling me one time, "Well, Rob, I think God just wants me to be airborne." I'm like, "I don't know, man. Maybe so, but that's awesome. Yeah. You're awesome." But that set into motion what would end up being the
So how was the Q course for you?
Man.
So maybe tell everybody what the Q course is, like what the steps of the Q course are, and like what that looked like for you.
Well, at the time, the Special Forces qualification course, that's where they get the Q from, was, I want to say, 8 months long for me. It's different lengths for different MOSs. I got chosen to be an ECHO, which is communications sergeant. So for me, that started off with 2 months of 8 to 5 international Morse code. And it was horrible.
That was your first phase?
That was for me. Okay. Because I had been chosen as a communicator. At the time, back then, they don't do that anymore, but at the time, our backbone communications was Morse code. Long haul, high frequency,
you still know
communications.
You still know it all cold?
Yeah.
Because
100%.
I always, like, in the movies, when the aliens or whatever, like, take out our main communication systems,
Right.
some generals always like use Morse code, and like the guy at the keyboard always knows it, and I'm like, I don't know anybody. Like I know SOS and maybe a couple of things, but like I don't know anybody that just knows Morse code. So you do.
Yeah.
You could do like a
Now
whole
we know one
conversation.
guy who does.
Yeah, 100% I could.
So if the aliens come,
If the aliens come,
call it Robert.
but we need a
Yeah.
Robert on the other end.
true.
Otherwise, we're just otherwise
Yeah, there's
some poor specialist is going to be like, I don't know what this means. It's like a lot of beeps and dashes.
I mean, it's about what it is. It's amazing now that I look back on it. What horrible, boring days. You know, you're crammed in there with, I don't know, there must have been 50 or 60 of us. And, you know, everybody's got headphones on. And, I mean, that's all we did all day, every day for months.
You just fucking Morse coded all day.
That's it. And I mean,
I got to tell you, that sounds horrible.
yeah, it was horrible. But
You're
it
totally
served its purpose.
ruining everybody's vision of special forces right now.
So nerdy.
It's like the biggest badasses on planet Earth. What was your training like? Did you jump out of planes? Did you have to kill a pig with a spear?
Well, actually, we put headsets on and we
right.
did
Yeah.
Morse code for 3 months.
That's right.
Oh,
Oh, never mind.
Okay, well that's cool too, I guess.
It's so funny. As far as gates go, I mean, there were people who never made it out of that. You know, you had to.
I wouldn't have made it out of that.
Yeah, I almost never made it out of it. You had to get to a certain proficiency level
Yeah.
for sending and receiving Morse code, or you did not go on to the next phase. And that wasn't really even the Q course.
Yeah.
That was a precursor to the Q course for people who were chosen to be communicators. I think at the time they were sending people who didn't make it in that to some other MOSs.
Bravos or something.
Yeah, that's right. Or Charlies for some people, but there was a lot of math
Yeah.
in Charlies, so
Yeah,
some
Echoes,
people
they
didn't
only
even make
pick
it
the
through
smart
that.
kids for Echoes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it smart. Very, very geeky at the time.
Yeah. No, the smart kids get chosen as the Echoes.
It was, you know, I wouldn't change anything now when
Yeah.
I look back on it. But that was 2 months of that, and
Yep.
then,
Just 2 months of
gosh, yeah, 2 months of
Dots and dashes.
yeah.
Where was that?
That was at Fort Bragg.
Should we do a
Yeah,
test?
now Fort Liberty.
Dan, look up how to like say some
Oh, man.
sentence, and we'll do this test.
Now the anxiety. building.
What would I
Like,
search?
well, we're gonna keep talking, but you find I bet there's like some app that'll translate it into Morse code, and then we can,
Oh,
then
okay.
we'll give him some Morse code and see
Okay.
if he still has it. You know?
I'm about to fake a seizure and fall down. That'll get you off the hook. Faking a seizure.
So all right, so you go to the Q course,
Yeah.
the Q course proper after the
Yep.
the 2 months of Morse code indoctrination.
Yeah. It was a long haul for me. I think after that it was 6 months, you know, a lot of classroom time, months in the classroom, learning the craft, learning the principles and theory behind everything. And of course, all the strategery, you know, gosh, a couple months in the field, learning small unit tactics, which was very easy for me, starting out at 2nd Ranger Battalion.
Of course.
But, you know, there were people at the time who, I mean, that was their first time being introduced to that because at least at the time, you did not have to come from a combat arms MOS
Yep.
or job in the
Yep.
military. You could be anything. I remember a dental assistant, a friend of mine went through selection and he did great. I don't know how he, you know, I think he became a medic. So I don't know exactly how the Q course went for him, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then of course the culmination exercise at the very end
Was
to
it
make
was
sure.
it Robin Sage back then? Was
Yeah.
it called that?
Yeah, still was.
And did you have any issue there? Or you just
No.
kind of trucked right through it?
I mean, it was, you know, there were tiny micro gut checks here and there, but
Of course.
yeah,
But you basically crushed the Q course is what you're telling us. In your very non-arrogant way. You're like, you rolled right through all this.
I wouldn't say I crushed it, but yeah, I had a great time in the Q course. I also did in selection again because I was so young and I didn't know. I really in selection I thought I was doing the things that what I had previously imagined, like every day of the Army. This is what it's going to be, just carrying heavy things and being really dirty and miserable. I wanted all that.
Yeah.
You know, turns out I really needed all that. It served me well later in life, but yeah.
So, Beret, Book of Truth, now you're SF. What do you do now?
Goodness. I went back to, I had chosen Fort Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to 1st Special Forces Group, that's where it was headquartered. I chose Fort Lewis because that's where all my friends were before. And it's funny to me when I look back on it now because I had not yet learned that this is not how the Army goes. It's not how it works.
Yeah,
I went back
you don't
there.
get to be with your friends.
Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
everybody'd be there. And,
Yeah.
that's how young I was in the Army still.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
there, it's like, man, there's nobody here. It's like, where'd they go? Oh, that's right. That's not how the Army works.
Yeah, they're somewhere. They're deployed somewhere or doing a training exercise.
Yeah, they got
yeah.
PCS'd.
Yeah.
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 But again, I wouldn't change anything. I was raised by, a lot of really awesome people, leaders in 1st Special Forces Group, and I credit them with
Yeah.
really kind of setting me on a path to
And then Okinawa.
Okinawa. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd that happen?
98. I was coming up on my first 4 years in group, so it's time for a change. I asked for 1st Battalion in Okinawa and got it. I ended up doing 8 straight years out there, which was a feat, but not by any skill on my behalf or anything, but that's just kind of the way it turned out. And gosh, a lot of really good years.
Yeah.
You're making me reminisce in my head right now about the people.
That's what we do here at the Neutral Position.
Yeah.
We bring it back to the real thing. So, any most memorable moment? Well, I know you have so much more you want to talk about in your current life, but most memorable moment from the military.
Boy, that's tough.
It can't be something lame like
Yeah.
looking out into the sun.
Yeah, that's right. Which I did daily for 26
Staring
years.
straight into the sun.
hoping it would burn my retinas.
Oh, gosh. I'm not going to belabor it, but there are just too many for me to pick right now. When I come on, at some point as we're talking, probably something will dawn on me, but mostly it's the people, really crucial to kind of helping craft the person that I am today. Hopefully I'm doing them proud, but just the people that I've met, man.
One thing I like to ask people is, so what led you to get out? Because you didn't retire from the military. You made a decision to get out. What made you get out?
Well, I did retire. What I was saying earlier, I just made a decision after I was on active duty. I retired at 26 years and then became Department of Defense civilian.
Gotcha.
That's what I did not retire from. I probably honestly stayed in a few years too long on active duty, and that's just hindsight being 2020. Boy, it just so happened to kind of coincide with a difficult time in my life. And so, I don't know, I guess my give a fuck factor about certain things really just kind of waned, like probably beyond the point at which
Where
I
it's healthy.
should have.
You start becoming, start asking yourself, am I negative? Am I being the negative guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're so long in the tooth, you don't want to be, the old grumpy guy.
Yep.
I remember meeting some of those guys who were great, and served their purpose. But I can only imagine what a magnificent, younger guy some of those people were. And I didn't want to become that. Didn't want to be jaded. But yeah, I remember one day, it was a meeting, at that point in my career, I was in a meeting and I just started hearing things that were like, man, I wish I had $1 for every time I've heard that, and here we go again. But I didn't want to crap on the idea. I just stood up and left the room and went down to the S1 and said, I need you to send me every document that I need to submit my retirement today. By the end of the day, I'm going to have my packet in.
Wow.
That was it.
So a meeting did you in?
It was a meeting. I don't even remember what the meeting was about, but you can imagine. I'm sure there are people who are identifying with
Who
this.
was running the meeting? You don't have to. I don't mean names, but like, was it a colonel? Was it a sergeant major? Was it?
Yeah, something like that. It was definitely leadership.
But it was
that
the new
particular
idea
unit.
that was an old idea that you had seen 14 times already, and it hadn't worked any of those times.
That's right. It was something like that.
And you just didn't want to be the guy that was like, "This is dumb."
Yeah. Yeah, because that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, one of the things that I think people that have never served in the military don't realize is that the Army is always dumb. You know,
So much truth to
You
that.
know?
Yeah.
but we're like all places are dumb, you know. So like the more people involved, the dumber an organization gets. And one of the things
Yeah.
I was very hard on leadership when I was in the Army. Like the thing that broke me the most about being in the Army, and I was only in for a little while, it was like no one ever lived up to the expectation that was made for us when we were cadets. Because I was an officer, you know,
Yeah.
so and I was a West Pointer at that. So the
Yeah.
worst kind. But no, there was like you had, you know, you do all this training, you know, as a kid, and it's like honor, integrity, you know, doing the right thing for others. And then often, you know, especially past the rank of captain, so the majors and the colonel, like you see them do stuff and you're like, man, that is
Yeah.
not what we're supposed to be. And same thing, like I've always wondered, and I think it's a little different in SF, but I've always wondered how, like, platoon sergeants, amazing. First sergeants, amazing. Sergeant major, like, what the fuck happened to you, bro? Like, what happened? I mean, not always.
Right.
There are exceptions,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm assuming you were a sergeant major, so like, you know, I'm not trying to, or were you an officer?
I was not a sergeant major.
Okay.
Or an officer.
What were you?
I got out as a sergeant first class.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's an interesting story.
That's right. There's a whole story behind that.
I want to
But,
hear
you
that.
know,
I want to hear that story in a second. But like, I had this idyllic vision of, which is not fair, of what military leadership was supposed to be, and that weighed heavily on me. There were other things, like my family, like my ex-wife, basically was like, we can have kids or you can stay in, you know.
Yeah.
And I agree with her. It was a fair, because she didn't want kids, you know, me gone and, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But
It's a tough life people
But the
live.
military leadership thing. Now, this is the part I didn't understand. When I got my first civilian job, you know, Fortune 100 company, it was worse.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I don't mean it was worse like the company was worse,
Yeah.
but the military leaders suddenly didn't look as bad. And then, you know, as you get older, you realize none of us are perfect and we all have problems, and,
Yeah.
you know, there's things we all can do better. There were only a couple guys where I truly think they were bad people. Everybody else, looking back, it's like they were doing the best they could. They just had holes in their game. And
Yeah.
if I was a better officer, I would have tried to fill those holes instead of just like, you know, you motherfucker, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but
Right.
you don't think like that when you're in your 20s. In your
No.
20s, you're like, you know, do your shit. Why aren't you
Yeah.
doing your shit? What's wrong with you? Why, you know, like it's a different mentality.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really identify with that. Luckily for me, you know, you said you think maybe it's different in SF, Special Forces. You know, I don't know. You know, I think probably it's not that different. But I'll tell you, God, so many people, so many amazing people who really helped me in the Army, but also, man, I did, even if I didn't get along with them, especially now with the benefit of having, you know, lived more life, and now I can look back on it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just great. They were doing great, and
Yeah.
you know, everybody's got a blind spot at that point in time. You know, mine was just not having had their jobs. I'm not in their position, so it's really it's dangerous, you know, to, I guess, your relationships with those people, to not have the perspective and then and judge them poorly on it. Now, don't get me wrong, I still judged, you know,
Oh, yeah.
but now I know,
Yeah.
God, man, those guys
You
were
take-
dealing with things I was not dealing with.
You take a little bit of the edge off
Yeah.
as you get older. It
Yeah.
becomes hard. There are things that I still judge people on, but it's few and far between.
Yeah.
It's like overt shit. I will like if you are purposefully trying to like ruin someone's life, steal, cheat, whatever it is, like if you're purposefully doing those things, but like basic human failures, like I might remove myself from being around a person, but I'm not going to get into like, because I know I've got holes in my game too.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We all do.
Most people are trying, It's like everyone.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but
some people are not. Yeah. Some people are trying
true.
the opposite direction, but yeah, I think you're right. That's a good rule, I think, for people to follow. It's also a hard rule to apply to your own life when you're, young like we were.
I try to give it. I feel like I try to give, like going into something, I try to give the benefit of the doubt of the, like, I think my default is someone's a good person, right? Until they prove me wrong. Like that's kind of my default going in. And I think as I've gotten older, I'm like, empathy and being kind is like the coolest thing you can be, You've
been watching a lot of Gary V lately?
Gary V?
Vaynerchuk?
No.
That's
I don't know who that is.
That's his
totally,
thing.
yeah.
No, but like I've gotten older and I'm like, I have like a nephew and niece now, and I'm like, man, the thing that like
you sound like an influencer.
The thing that like I'm gonna teach him as an uncle is like, dude, being kind is cool as shit. Like being empathetic is cool as shit. Like be those two things. And so I try to like understand if someone's doing something that maybe I don't like. I try to at least understand them first, and then you're right. There's people who just like don't give a shit, and like are bad people. But for the most part, like I can usually understand where they're coming from, and sometimes like people are in a bad place in their life, and so some of their decision making or the way they treat people doesn't even have to do with other, it's all about like where they're at in their life, and so I can have empathy for that too, but it's a bigger conversation. So
truth, man. It's a good thing to assume though that this guy's man, he really seems like a douche. Yeah. But maybe there's something else going on that I'm just not aware of.
Or maybe he's a douche. No, there are douches.
Either way, you may have to, cut sling load and move on from that kind of person because regardless of where that person might be in their life, like this is not working. And so a change needs to happen right now.
Yeah. For your own mental health, for sure. It can be like, all right, I need to cut ties. But I think it keeps you from building too big of a resentment if you can try to even if I do have to cut ties with someone, like there's no need for me to hold a resentment because that just hurts me. Like that doesn't affect them at all. Like a seed of resentment can grow into something big. So I try not to like hold. I'm not a big like grudge holder. I guess
posting on the View.
This sounds.
Well, he was.
You're just dropping influencer tidbits left and right.
I've never listened to an influencer on any of that stuff.
I just fade away. That's my thing. Like once somebody has created continuous discomfort in my life, whether it's like they don't come through or they, whatever it is, whatever, like I just like fade away. Yeah. Like there is no conversation. I'm just the Homer Simpson in the bushes,
I agree. I'm just saying there's a lot of people who like hold like grudges for so long, and it's like, move on if you have to move on, but I'm
not a grudge guy.
It's not, it's so toxic
it's exhausting
for you.
And also they don't know.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The resentment only hurts the person who's holding it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's in the Bible or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the company to become a TikTok influencer.
Hey, do it. You should do it.
Perfect.
You should follow your dreams. We'll get a more talented
Proudly
person.
never been on TikTok.
I think my work here is done, guys. So
you've unlocked something in me.
So, okay, I got to ask though. So you're like, I'm done with this SF bullshit. And then you become a GS civilian.
Yeah, right?
I feel like that wasn't a big enough step in the right direction.
That's right.
How was that transition?
You're right.
How was that?
Well, right after I retired.
Who'd you work for as a GS civilian?
For the Department of Defense? Oh, I got you. So it was a unit on Fort Bragg that shall remain nameless.
Got it.
So great bunch of people.
Yep.
It was an amazing opportunity for me, just as an American. Like I went to work and was just in awe. It was really nice. But you're right. It was not far enough away.
That's not far enough away.
Yeah. And,
because you probably also were sitting there going like, man, I kind of want to get it back in the game because this is this is what I've done.
Yeah.
And what is
little bit of that.
What
That's
is
right.
that job?
There was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
What is that job exactly that you were doing?
Like
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I was just I was a staff officer in operations,
Okay.
and so a lot of planning, a lot of kind of wrangling things and making coordination, trying to come up with good ideas regarding what could be done against a certain mission set.
Gotcha.
So it was comfortable. I'll say that. Too comfortable for me. And what I probably needed was to get a little bit further away from my military active duty kind of lifestyle and things that I dealt with.
We should shamelessly plug Jason Van Camp's book right now.
I love Jason.
Do you know Jason?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very
so
cool.
awesome.
Jason Van Camp wrote a book called Deliberate Discomfort. It talks about how in order to progress in life, you need to put yourself in deliberately discomfortable situations. We know discomfortable is not a word, but you should read it.
It is
Jason
now.
Van Camp, Deliberate Discomfort. There's my shameless plug. All right. How do you
Great
know
guy.
Jason? Did you serve with him or?
I did. Yeah, we were the unit that I retired from active duty from. Jason was there.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And so I
Before
actually
or after injury?
after his injury.
Okay.
Yeah. So after he was on his way out, and he had already started to do, what was it? He had already started to kind of dabble in what would become his thing after the military. Mission Essential.
Mission 60.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Mission 60 stuff.
Yeah.
And so,
Very cool.
yeah, it was a really interesting thing for me. But also, kind of in my comfort zone. And I just thought it was a great idea. I had an awesome experience the one time that I actually went and did, a job with them. It's where I met Tom Amenta.
Tom Amenta.
Yeah, totally awesome
Yeah.
dude.
He is
Had not previously known him.
unbridled energy and never stops talking.
Gosh, yeah, man.
Never stops talking.
Yeah, I remember that.
Tom
it was
was-
so great, though.
Tom was my COO at Ranger Up.
That's right.
For 8 years, and so it's funny, like he and I were so used to operating that I basically didn't hear him anymore.
Yeah.
unless he had eye contact with me, but he'd be just going and going and going, and other people would be listening, and I'm just doing my own thing, and he does not stop. He does not stop. But he's a machine.
He is a machine.
He's a machine.
Smart guy, too.
Very smart.
Good guy.
Very smart.
But yeah, that's how I met Jason. And that was really cool. I love what he's doing. And I really should have. Had he written that book at the time and I read it, I probably would have opted to do a little something different a little bit earlier in my life. But
that's all right.
Yeah, it is all right.
Yeah.
And
you
I had a great time.
You slow rolled your way out.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. One of my bands that I'm in was formed. I'm not going to say which band just because, breadcrumbs and all that stuff. But, we all met at that unit. And it just started out as sort of this blow off steam at the end of each day. We got together with a bunch of people who we found.
Were all your songs just bitching about majors? Was it
We've got entire albums.
And then he made a PowerPoint.
That was a cover band. But if we had ever done any original stuff, I'm sure it would have been yeah.
And he told me to change the font. I'm not doing it in Calibri, Major Thompson. Sorry.
That needs to become a song. Yeah, that needs to become a song. We can make that happen. Maybe we can collaborate on that. Okay, I'm down. So yeah,
I kind of want that to be a band now.
That job actually helped me to transition.
I'm going to throw this out.
Yeah,
there are currently no influencers that just sing about stupid military shit all the time, and that could be one of your things.
Sign me up right now.
I'll
down.
help write the
You need
lyrics.
to write a song called the E4 Mafia.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I bet you somebody must have done that by now.
The
Some of these
closest-
parody guys out
would
there.
be
The
so
only
huge.
I'm trying to so there was an Air Force band also called Dos Grandes.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Isn't that so weird?
Yeah.
They just sing about being pilots and how pilots are assholes. And then about the same time that we were in, there was a band called The Sound of Swick.
Oh, I've heard their music.
And they did a song called What You Gonna Do, PL,
That's right.
that's about going to Ranger School.
Oh my gosh, man.
But I can't think of anybody else that like just sings about Army shit. And so
It'd probably be good for the soul.
I mean,
just to get some of that stuff out there.
just
the
like,
levity.
something stupid. I'll help you write lyrics. That's my only
Yeah,
contribution.
no,
Okay.
I'd be happy to be in
know?
on production and
I could be
being part of the
I could be
band,
like
but
backup vocals.
Yeah,
I'm not good
you
enough
know.
for any kind
I
of
can help
actual-
phrase some of the vocals. Maybe I won't be able to write any
Yeah.
original stuff because I'm not an
Yeah,
army guy.
you got to
but
kill that though, because it's going to ruin our
can do
audio.
that,
quality.
though.
I can help mold the lyrics to fit together. I help write melody, play instruments.
love
I'm
that.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're going to do, PL, was like a staple. And I was
You were a platoon leader, right?
well, that's what. So when you're at Ranger School, the second and third phases,
Right.
like platoon leader is the big graded job.
Okay.
You've got to pass 50% of your patrols to pass Ranger School, and you've got to pass 50% in each phase.
And that's an officer position, right?
No,
Oh,
it's
PL's not?
no. It is in the regular military,
Oh, okay.
but at Ranger School, everybody just
Oh,
rotates.
everybody does. Okay.
So what happens is, like, at Ranger School, things always go south. Everybody's tired and people don't know what they're doing. And, so things go south. The RIs are always like, what are you going to do, PL? What you going to do, PL? So that's what the whole song is
Got it.
about. It's worth listening to, but not right now, Hollywood. Not right. Hollywood's playing it in the background. It's blaring, Anyway,
Yeah, those guys had a whole album or albums,
yeah.
I think.
Sound of Swick. If
Yeah.
you've never heard them, they were wildly amusing back in the 90s.
That's true.
Back when you really had to you couldn't just make an album. You couldn't just pull up Logic or Pro Tools and make an album. You actually had to have a record, find recording time,
Yeah.
pay for a studio or
I didn't even think about that. That's right.
know.
I
Everything
don't know
is,
how they put that together.
everything is easier now.
Yeah.
Everything is easy.
It sounded good, what
So
they
the
were doing.
first time that I heard Sounds of Swick, it wasn't on YouTube or anything. It was like a friend sent me an MP3 file, and I loaded it into before everyone was on iTunes. Back when iTunes was still cool, and you could actually load your own music into iTunes.
Yeah.
You remember, you could
Yeah.
put your CDs
Yep.
and whatever. That's gone.
Yeah.
Now they just but what was before that? It started with a K.
Kaza,
Kaza.
LimeWire, Napster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually,
Kaza.
I
the
remember
first
that.
recording equipment I ever had, I downloaded off LimeWire. It was Acid Pro 3. Which would have been in the early 2000s. So depending on when they may have had some of that early available recording equipment, but they probably, if it sounds good, they probably were in a studio.
But I think it was before. It had to be before. I'm trying to think now. No, I think it was 90. I think it was 99. I think it was 99 when I heard that song for the first time. Maybe it was later though.
definitely was
Maybe it
not
was
as
when I
easy
was an
to
RI.
create
I
any
don't
sort of content back then.
Yeah, it was a different
Yeah, I
time.
think you're right.
It's a
I have no
different time.
concept of time. I can't remember when that was. I heard a song or two much later.
Yeah.
I know that. But
Maybe it was later. I'm thinking now that it was later. Maybe they came out in 2003.
could be. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
It was
Anyway.
great stuff.
Anyway, my point is,
Yeah.
you're a musician.
back on target.
You're a musician
Yeah.
that spent 26 years essentially in special operations.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the moment. What we just figured
gotta
out is your
happen.
new business plan. You're going to
Okay.
become the ultimate influencer that does music about the military. Now, you obviously will still have all the music that you're doing now, but
Yeah.
you need an alter ego. What's his alter ego?
Okay. Yes.
Is it Sergeant First Class Billingsworth?
That's
It's one idea.
Billingsworth. Not bad.
I like that a lot.
That's Steve Martin, right?
I don't know. No, I just made that up. I think I don't know. I don't think it was Steve Martin. No, he was no.
He was a
Bilko. Bilko.
He was
Ah,
Bilko,
yeah,
Sergeant Bilko.
Bilko.
That's right.
That's not a bad name either.
I was trying to think if it was one of the
Bilko.
what's Chevy Chase, a
Bilko.
character that always took on different.
Fletch.
Gosh, I love
They
that.
just tried to remake Fletch with John Hamm.
Unfortunately,
I gotta tell
Oh
you,
no.
it was not.
Yeah,
And I love John Hamm. He's great.
he is.
I can't even think of who John Hamm is. I don't get out.
Mad
Mad
Men.
Men.
Oh,
Don
okay.
Draper.
Yeah.
Draper.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was also the admiral.
Didn't.
Top Gun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was Don Draper.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did not work.
Oh, that's too bad.
I mean,
Well, I wouldn't have touched that
Yeah.
because my gosh, what are you doing? That's
You-
such
you-
a classic.
You know who could do it that I always thought like that they were maybe related before he got big is Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, I think Ryan Reynolds steals a lot, not steals, but like I think there's a lot of Chevy Chase in Ryan Reynolds.
Very similar.
He's just so handsome is the problem.
He's
I'm
handsome.
saying I agree with you completely, but people don't see him that way because he's so handsome.
When like his delivery in
A little bit of
Van
arrogance.
Wilder,
Yes.
I was like, man, this guy has to be related to Chevy Chase. And I like looked it up at the time, I was like, but no, nothing.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
Their delivery is the same. They deliver high,
Yeah, and the kind of the like cocky, a little bit of cockiness, arrogance.
cocky,
Totally.
not where
Yeah.
devil may care attitude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to launch your new music career as a military influencer.
Let's do that this afternoon because I don't have a show to play until the evening. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Imagine a media agency that can make a documentary that qualifies for Academy Award voting. Imagine another that created a Billboard charting music video for Five for Fighting. Imagine another that has raised so much money for nonprofits in its first year working on the Classy.org platform that at the end of the year, it was named as only the second marketing partner in Classy's history. Imagine another firm that can cover your events anywhere on planet Earth and provide a compelling series of videos about those events immediately and to your needs. And imagine another still that can help your e-commerce business take it to the next level. Now imagine that they're all the same business, Diesel Jack Media. Some of you might be saying, hey, Nick, isn't that your company? And to that I answer, can a company like Diesel Jack Media really be owned? Or can it merely be coaxed out like a beautiful butterfly on a spring day? As you listen to this podcast that, by the way, Diesel Jack Media created, you may be asking yourself, what's our secret? It's simple. We try not to suck. Sounds easy, right? It should be, but somehow marketing companies and media agencies always seem to get it wrong. You see, we don't make PowerPoints about doing work. We do the work because we like the work. And if one of our ideas doesn't work, you know what we do? We try another one again and again and again until our ideas start to work. Because not quitting until it's right is at the heart of not sucking. And as previously mentioned, that's what we try not to do here. Diesel Jack Media. We try not to suck. Visit us at dieseljackmedia.com. That is dieseljackmedia.com. All right. So how do you get from 26 years in, then doing fancy stuff with fancy people and DOD to musician?
It's something that I always wanted to do. So my parents got me into music when I was a kid. Went to Catholic schools until I graduated high school. Music was always part
Good or
of the
bad?
curriculum.
Good or bad?
It was great for me.
Yeah.
I loved it. So I got a really good education, even though I didn't know that was happening at the time, but really exposed to a lot of cool stuff. Had to sing in chorus, had to, play an instrument, at least at that time. So I just always had a love for it. I was introduced to it early. And so, the Army has a funny way of like taking you out of things or not providing the time that you would like to do things that you love, just because it's it's the life. But I always tried to stay in bands when I was in the Army, and I was successful to some degree with that. Started in 2nd Ranger Battalion. Jeff Prowse started a band called the Acid Clowns, and I was the drummer for that.
That's a good band name.
Yeah, I loved it, man.
Solid name.
But every now and then throughout my career, I would be in bands, and it kept me.
Dan had
kept
a
me in
band that it was similar called the Ass Clowns.
Putting the ass in acid.
That's right.
Sorry,
Man,
I had to do.
No,
I
that's
was
pretty
there. It popped in my head.
That's good.
Yeah, thanks, man.
that was a
I'm
low
pissed
blow.
I didn't think of it.
So that was it. And then once I, had kind of cut ties with the military from active duty, started a band called Bones Fork with a bunch of other retired Green Berets. We wrote songs about and for the Special Forces Regiment, and just kind of things so it wasn't a parody kind of stuff.
It was serious.
Thing. It was serious.
It was like,
yeah. It wasn't a parody. It also wasn't, Lee Greenwood-ish. It was just somewhere
like,
down the middle.
It was like Lincoln Park for the military.
I mean, it was I thought it was really
I'm
cool.
just guessing because I haven't heard it.
Yeah.
Am I close at all?
It wasn't that close, only because I didn't have that kind of range. I was the lead singer in that band.
Compare it to a band that we know.
Gosh. This is not
Counting Crows.
No, gosh, I wish. Well, no, maybe that was a little bit too whiny for our style. But, man, we had been at the time compared to like an Alice in Chains-y sort of thing.
Yeah, cool.
But that makes sense because I was that's where I grew up, and that the kind of the grunge time was when I was in my 20s, early 20s. Same with John Terzan, our guitarist. We wrote most of the music, most of the songs rather, during that time. Have a couple albums out. It was a really we're still a band. We're on hiatus currently, but yeah.
So say the name of the band again.
Bones Fork.
Bones Fork.
That's right. Bones Fork. Taken from a really crappy part of
sounds like
Hoffman.
a fantasy novel,
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons. Like
so true.
We need to get to Bones Fork and
That's
get
so true.
the dagger of a jaunty, Like
Bones Fork is the name of a swampy creek area out in the Hoffman area where they do selection and the Q course
Very cool.
for the Army Special Forces.
So it has meaning.
Oh, it's horrible. It's a horrible place. Everybody who's been there has a story about it. They all end terribly, including my own stories about Bones Fork. So we kind of took that.
Do you want to tell us a story about Bones Fork?
No, I don't want to take us to a dark place.
All right. I guess in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that was so that was what really got me back into it. And then when I was a DoD civilian.
What do you play?
I
heard drums.
Yep. I play drums. That's what I started out doing, and I love doing it. I'm not great, but I can keep a beat. Singing, I was the lead singer in Bones Fork. Sang for another
drummer and
band.
Singer. That's not normal.
No, it's not normal.
Yeah.
I don't love to do both at the same time, but I try my hardest to at least stand Patrick.
The band had a
practice.
drummer.
That's right.
Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Those are two great ones.
But he didn't always drum.
Phil Collins?
Oh, when he was
didn't-
solo.
he didn't
Oh, that's
always
right.
drum.
He was doing a lot of just singing.
Yeah.
When he was solo, he was usually just singing. I mean, I'm sure he played on the records, but I think with Genesis. he would play.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Invisible Touch.
In the air tonight.
Yeah.
That was the same album.
Yeah. That's
I'm saying the name of the album was Invisible Touch, and side A was Invisible Touch,
My goodness.
In Too Deep, Tonight, 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 and Land of Confusion.
Holy
Talk
cow.
Talk about a strong side A.
Well, you just rattled those off like you listened to them this morning.
You know what?
I didn't, but
It's great
What
music.
movie do you think I think about whenever I hear In the Air Tonight?
well, I always think of Miami
That's
Vice.
exactly right.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't
Yeah.
used to, and then I saw that.
And then I convinced you to watch it.
Yep, and it's forever in my head.
Yep.
In the Air Tonight, Miami Vice.
The movie?
Yeah.
both the movie and the series.
I don't know if I ever watched the movie. I watched the series like a junkie. Yeah.
You've got to watch the movie.
The movie is underrated.
Way
Really?
underrated.
It's a strong.
Does it have the
film.
same actors?
No.
It's not the same actors. No.
Okay.
What's his name?
Jamie Foxx
Colin
and
Farrell.
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell is actually
okay.
really underrated. He's a phenomenal actor.
Jamie
I
Foxx
agree.
is-
Yeah, both those guys.
off the charts
Great
good.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Well written.
I heard it was
really
a
well written.
disaster to make, right? Wasn't it a disaster production? That's just what I've read about.
I don't know, but I love the movie.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
It is my personal favorite Michael Mann movie, and I know that's saying a lot because I think he's great. But it's the only movie that really makes me feel like I'm back in the military because of the way he shoots it. It's shoots it dirty, camera shakes a little bit, but like, yeah. Anyway,
It's a great film.
I'm
Anyway.
gonna check it out.
yeah.
I will check it out.
So we're talking about you getting into music. So
Yeah.
we're on to band 2, Bones Fork.
Yep. Bones Fork had a great run. We're still doing stuff on hiatus. And then, most recently, well, I also mentioned that other band that I met while I was a DoD civilian. And we were just playing after work to blow off steam. After like a year and a half, no kidding, of just doing that, somebody was finally like, hey, we should like do this in front of people. And so
And that's how your OnlyFans started.
that is exactly how multiple bandmates of mine, OnlyFans, started. God, that was a good band, man. Still is a good band. Also on hiatus right now.
Yeah.
Because our lead singer and guitarist, who were boyfriend girlfriend at the time,
Yep.
they ended up getting married and they had a brand new baby. So
kids are.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go the other way, that they broke up.
yeah,
and
they
and
broke
ruined-
up,
and
broke
ruined
up the band.
Thought
You
they-
know who I'm
they-
talking
they
to.
Yokoed you.
That's right. They totally yokoed us.
So here's a question. I want you to explain to people something that regular people like me will never understand.
Oh goodness.
So you've got a band like the Beatles, or you've got a band like Van Halen. You've got a band that's like iconic. You get to do the thing that you love, which millions and millions of people would love to be doing. And like, you can't keep your shit together because you're like aggravated with the other person.
Oh my god.
How does that, like, tell me? Because it's obviously a real thing.
Yeah.
Because it's not a rational thing to break up. Guns N' Roses should still be playing, but they're not because
That's right.
they hate each other,
Yeah.
or they at least can't work together, John Lennon would probably still be alive right now if he hadn't broken up the Beatles, So,
Man.
so
That's heavy.
how does that happen?
How do you stay together, or how does it break up?
How does somebody that is so successful blow it over like personality stuff? So like, I want you to
Yeah.
explain. I'm not saying it's not real,
Yeah.
but like, I'm sure there have been many days where Dan was sick of my shit, but like, it
And
still
yet here
worked.
he is.
And yet here he is, and Dan is not, nor I, neither of us are universally loved and making millions and millions of dollars playing music.
Yeah.
Like, to me, if it's me, but again, I'm not a musician, so I don't understand. To me, if Dan and I hated each other and we had a band where every time we played, we'd make millions of dollars,
Yeah.
we would pretend.
Yeah.
We'd be like, we're boys. And then like, it'd be like, okay, now we're not going to hang out. But that's not the way it works. Why?
No.
Explain it.
No.
Explain it.
It's a great question. I tell you what, it is hard to be in a band. It's hard to keep a band together because bands are made of human beings. And I think moreover, because it's a creative pursuit, people's emotions have to be involved.
Have to.
If it's going to be any good at all.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's been my limited experience, not in Aerosmith or the Beatles, that because of that, people just get, it's very easy for people to get really kind of wrapped up in their emotions, and things turn adversarial when there are spotlights involved, literally. And I think to think that you can fake it on stage is to miss something, because I think that translates. If you're on stage with somebody who you're having a really tough time with, or worse, you despise for whatever reason, I think that translates. I think you will communicate that to the crowd, to the camera, whatever. That's what I think.
I also think that, artistically, if something pops for you when you're 20 years old, your taste at 30 is so different. This is like not a Beatles example, but if you look at, I grew up loving like Blink-182, and if you look,
sorry.
Yeah, no, but listen, there's the thing. Tom
they're
DeLonge,
a
who's
good
the
band. I'm
guitarist,
just-
is actually an amazing songwriter. As Blink went on, they did their self-titled album, which is like actually considered like, musically like really artistic. And he was sort of taking them into this edgier alternative direction. And the other guy wanted to keep writing pop punk songs. Yeah. And so Tom, and that actually created, for a while, it created like their best album, because it was like, not pop punk anymore, but it still was catchy. But then at some point it gets to the point where
the
it's
White
like,
Album, or Sgt. Pepper's, if you will.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was their Sgt. Pepper, right? So, but then at some point it gets where they're so not on the same page. They've already made a bunch of money,
And it was just time to let it be.
and then you can but you can move on. You can say, I'm popular. I can make my own thing. I'll be more artistically satisfied. I think bands that get big in their teens or 20s.
It almost never works, though.
Yeah,
I mean, there are
fucking
exceptions.
Yeah,
Phil Collins is a
Yeah,
True.
But for whatever reason, it almost never works.
Yeah.
Why do you think it never works?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean,
Come on, man. Give
Yeah.
me more than that.
damn you, you son of a gun.
Gosh, these are hard questions. You should ask someone about it. I'm asking you.
I do think there's a lot to be said for how people have success as a young person, younger band, and then how that really just changes over the course of time.
It's like, I don't want to be writing this same shit anymore.
Yeah.
This is what got us popular. It's like, why would I not go start my own thing where maybe I have a niche audience, but I can still go around. Like, maybe I'm not playing stadiums, but I'm playing music I want to play and playing, 3,000 person clubs.
Yeah.
It's a different, that may be more satisfying to someone.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oftentimes, for sure, it is.
Ego.
Yeah.
Man, I think it probably does. I think there's, a perfect storm of timing, that period in your life, the combination of a band when people are younger, and how that, I don't know.
Expectations that
It kind of-
come with a great album or something to
man.
follow up.
For sure, that's got to be a thing. But the magic that you have when it happens, and oftentimes in the moment you can't appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably very similar to other teams, and that bands are teams. It's probably very, very similar. You capture that magic, you become famous for that, and people like that sound. While it may be personally more fulfilling to move on and do something else later, separately, if you're not recapturing that magic and it doesn't sound the same to people, oftentimes I don't think they care that you were in that particular band. If it's markedly different from what they loved about your stuff earlier,
Look at Journey now.
they're going to move on. Yeah, that's right.
Journey's selling out stadiums
That's right.
with a totally different crew,
Yeah, there certainly are exceptions to that rule, but
So
I think that's it.
I do understand, when creative energy is burned out, it's tough. So, like I made a comedy movie, 5-6 years ago with my friends called Range 15.
Yeah.
And Jared Taylor and I were talking about this the other day on the phone. And it's like, we've got a couple projects we're probably going to do together, but it took about 5-6 years for all of us to just kind of get over it. And it wasn't like anything went bad. It was just so hard
Wow.
to write a movie,
Yeah.
fund a movie, make a movie, promote a movie, make the documentary about the movie, promote that document. Like, by the time we were done, and it was, everybody was calling for a sequel. I mean, because the movie did, it is still the only independent film ever to top the charts on Amazon, which is super cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
the movie did really well. We could have easily made a sequel and it would have done better, as sequels do. We didn't have it in us. I mean,
Yeah.
legitimately, like, I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
Like, no one had it in them. Everybody was like, let's just,
Yeah.
you know. So I get that. But because I'm not a musician, I don't understand. Like, do you think it's the same amount of creative energy that goes into, like, filmmaking, that goes into, because you do a little bit of that now too, that goes into music? Like, talk a little bit about what's the energy that goes into this project? When you're writing a song, when you're making a song, what is that process? Is it hours? Is it days? Is it months? Like, what does it look like for you?
Yeah. For me, it has been song dependent, and I've had songs, that we've written in minutes, and then that version of it made it onto an album. And then there are other songs that took a long time. I would guess, well, in my experience, I would say doing film has got to be more exhausting. I would imagine, because I've never done anything like Range 15, that the amount of time invested into it is so less gratifying to make that product, to make that, make a film, than it is for music and musicians. Just my guess that musicians spend more time really enjoying themselves through the songwriting process than would be, for filmmakers. Because gosh, I don't even know, like, all the set stuff that happens on set and off set, all the precursor things that have to be coordinated and done in order to make it happen.
Logistics, locations.
Yeah.
It's daunting.
Yeah.
It's
and then,
daunting.
Gosh, editing and all that stuff afterwards, Also for bands, for the most part, the musicians themselves are not also the ones doing all the trench
logistics.
work.
Yeah.
Logistics, editing, mixing, mastering, all that stuff. It's not always the same people doing that stuff. So the musicians get done, even if they're just a hired gun, kind of, whatever, laying down guitar for a particular song.
But it is worse. So I'm good friends with John Andrazik from Five for Fighting.
Oh God, what an awesome dude.
He's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
And so I've been to a number of his performances, and we're in the back with him, and that's a lot of work, and it's a lot of energy to put on a set. And he just finished touring with Bare Naked Ladies.
That's right.
So he toured all over the country. That was nonstop, and they're doing a show today, a show tomorrow, a show the next. So that is a certain kind of energy, like being on.
For sure.
Yeah, I think what I would imagine, the way I would compare it would be like a film equals like an album and tour. The energy, right? Like writing the album, recording the album, and then going on that tour. I think that would be comparable to doing a feature in terms of time and energy. I don't know. That'd be my guess.
I mean,
I've never toured like that, but
no, I haven't either. Listening to my friend Chelsea, who has done that many times, I think that's probably a fair comparison to make. But yeah, I'm such a small time musician. It's a labor of love for me. I love it, but I've never done anything.
Do you have
on that
Do you have
level.
aspirations to have like the big band, or for you is it you just like to make music?
I do not have those aspirations, and I'm not trying to lowball you to well, just in case I don't make it.
I believe you. You are a legitimately humble person, right?
Oh, thank you.
Like he reminds me a lot of Ben Bunn, Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Ben Bunn is a good friend of ours. I don't know if you know Ben. He's also from your community.
Nice.
He is not humble. Or quiet. He is funny though. We'll give him that.
Nice.
He is funny. He is funny. So what band, if somebody was going to look you up on Spotify, who should we look up? What's the most recent stuff, or what stuff are you most proud of?
Gosh. Okay, so I have three, so I'm just going to rattle off all three. Bones Fork.
Bones Fork.
Bonesfork.com, Bonesfork, and all the things.
We'll throw it up on the screen if you.
Okay, awesome.
You give us the information, and it'll be like Bones
thank you.
Fork. You know,
my main
maybe a
band-
little jingle. Bonesfork.com. You know.
Nathan
Bones.
says to tell you guys hello.
Oh, God, I love that guy.
Tell them to go.
That's
Tell them
right.
to stop interrupting our show.
Yeah.
Way to make it about you, Nate.
Yeah.
Way to
Nate,
go.
you had your chance.
Now, I'm here because of Nate Fair.
You had your chance, Nate Fair, and you could have put on a better show like the one we're doing right now. You piece
thought it
of
was
shit. Anyway.
He tried his best. Nate, love you, buddy.
Yeah.
My other band. One of my other bands. I'm the drummer for Jonathan Robinson, the Jonathan Robinson Band.
That sounds old school. That sounds like That sounds like something out of the 70s, 80s.
And he's in,
Yeah.
and he's in the Cruisers.
Yeah.
The Jonathan Robinson Band.
Yeah. Fantastic guitars.
What kind of band is it?
Southern rock.
I don't know
blues.
what that means. What's Southern rock?
Gosh.
I know.
That's
what
a
you
good
mean.
question.
I know,
Yeah.
I know exactly.
I'm
what
so
you mean.
bad at like
Restless
defining
Heart.
genres, but
Restless Heart. Leonard Skinner.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
also very bluesy. Awesome guitars. Bass player is Joe Felice, who I'm also in an acoustic duo with. Fantastic musicians. It's easy for me because I sit back behind them and just try and kind of keep up. But awesome.
I mean, you keep
dudes.
saying like you're not a very good drummer, but like
I'm
you keep getting assigned to the drumming role in multiple bands. So
I think
You
it's your
can't,
haircut.
you can't
I
be
like-
not a good drummer and be in a band. I mean,
because they won't put up.
you can be actually, you can be a bad
very kind.
guitarist and be fine. I mean, as long as you can play power
As long as
chords
you know
and,
those
and,
four
and write
chords.
and write catchy stuff, but you got to be a good drummer to be in a good band. So I imagine he's better than he's giving himself credit for.
Absolutely.
well, I
Well,
mean, he's
thank you.
downplayed everything so
Yeah.
far. He's like, yeah, I was in SF for a little while, 26 years. But I do want to know how you were only in E7. I do want to know how that happened.
Yeah, well, for a long time I was medically non-deployable, and so I kind of stopped participating in the promotion processes. I couldn't take a team when I was medically non-deployable, and so this is probably a flaw of mine, but because of that, I never wanted to. I felt like it would have been wrong of me to continue competing for Master Sergeant, get that promotion, and then not be able to do the job. So that's it. I didn't get like busted in rank or anything like that, but
Man.
trust me on this.
Man,
I was right where I wanted to be.
Even your sad stories are like too nice. Everything is like too nice. I was like, oh yeah, I slept with the general's daughter.
Yeah.
I punched a major. I was waiting. It's
I like
like
the cut of this guy's jib.
So my first real judo coach, Wayne Dickinson. Right. So I'm in my 40s, deep into my 40s now. Wayne is still competing, so that'll give you an idea of what kind of guy he is. He is still competing in high-level judo tournaments. Judo is like, it's hard to get black belt, but once you're a black belt, the ranks kind of just come. It's like a time horizon. It's not like is a 4th degree black belt better than a 3rd degree or a second? Like maybe they are, maybe they aren't. It's just they've been in the sport for a while. Kind of like jiu-jitsu is kind of the same way. Once you're a black belt, once they give you the big promotion is you're a black belt, but then it's just like you get a stripe forever, however long you've been in. So it's not meaningful. But Wayne, he got to 3rd degree black belt, and he was on the time horizon to get promoted to 4th, but he turned it down because the rank that all of the United States Olympians compete at, like if you make the Olympics regardless of age, you're essentially, at least this is the way it was back then, you're essentially a 4th degree black belt. That was the kind of, and he's like, and he came close to that level a few times. Like he just missed, like he got 2nd and the other guy went to the Olympics. Because he never made the Olympics, he was like, just keep me at 3rd.
Wow.
And so it reminded me of you, of your story. So I get it.
Man.
I get it.
Well,
I understand.
Thank you. That's very kind of you.
I understand.
Now, I will preface it by saying I don't know that I would have been competitive had I not kind of taken myself out of that process. I don't know. But, to continue a theme, I'll just say this. I was in the company of people who were amazing at that job.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
I get
so-
it. But I don't think anybody would have been mad at you for making Master Sergeant.
No, I'm sure they wouldn't have.
Like, and it's not like the Army needed the money.
Yeah, true.
Like,
True. Yeah.
like maybe take the raise,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
just, I mean, there are people whose whole MOS is doing the stuff that you had to do while you were, on medical hiatus. But
Yeah.
hey, I get it.
But yeah, so the thing for me is I just got to be able to, be good with my decisions. So that's always the thing. And I'm 100% good with my decisions. So
There you go. That's all there is. That's all there is. Everything else.
That's it.
Everything else is,
yeah.
So you now are starting a music or have started a music business. What do you do?
Yeah.
What's it called? How do we find it?
Thank you.
Can Dan do something with it?
100% Dan
I
can.
don't know if they allow people like me in there, no talent hacks like me.
Whatever. Hollywood's just had it
She
with
took
us.
my whole heart whole.
Oh my gosh. I do love that song.
Thank you.
So Pine Gap Audio, there are 5 of us. Also a veteran, disabled veteran owned organization. Not a nonprofit, but almost all of us are musicians. And we just started this company. We do music, we do voiceovers, some podcast work. We want to get into doing some video stuff as well. But right now we're still startup, so we're trying to get our music legs underneath us. Luckily, we have some really experienced, talented people.
So who
there.
should reach out to you? Who should reach out to Pine Gap?
Gosh,
Like what kind of person that wants to do what? They
Um,
want to record?
you want to record music? You need
about
music for your podcast?
What about making a music video?
We're not there yet.
Not there
we
yet?
We will get there, but yeah, I would say right now we're not there yet. So
Okay.
we're not
so
really
here,
looking
if somebody
for that.
reaches out and says that, you call us.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Right?
I was
Yes.
gonna say.
Dan goes
Will
down and
do.
films it, and boom, now it's a service you can provide people.
Man.
We're just solving problems left
My
and right.
gosh, I love
Sure.
that.
Done
Yeah.
quite a few of those.
Well, we totally want to do that, and we're nestled in.
Nestled.
Yeah,
Nestled. We're nestled.
we are totally nestled.
This guy's a writer. He's a writer. He doesn't even know it. He's a
I
writer.
do love writing.
Yeah.
But so we have 2 studios. Studio A is in Southern Pines.
We're nestled.
Studio B is in
a
Robbins.
cozy-
Nestled.
We're nestled
I
in
was
a
gonna say, are they both
cozy
nestled
nook.
or just Studio A?
Studio A is nestled.
Okay.
Studio B is a commercial building, cavernous, awesome.
The smoke was gently billowing from the cottage.
A
nestled,
plume of smoke.
nestled in the mountainside.
Plume of smoke was bellowing.
I like the way you think.
Trout
Yes,
hit
it totally
the
was.
edge of the water, capturing the evening gnats.
So good. So good. Yeah, man. For people who want to record music, record voiceovers for
Yeah.
their content, music for their content, original music for their content, like
So
yeah,
if
we're the right choice, I think.
So you guys could accommodate a full band that's come in, or could you accommodate a singer-songwriter who wants session musicians as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes to both. Yep.
cool.
And we've done some of that. The third thing I'm going to mention is a band. It's kind of a non-band, but it is a collection of musicians who came together to perform and record Hold On, Reach Out. And the band name is Over Never Out. And so it's a couple of musician friends of mine and a writer who's also a retired officer from the Army, Jason Houck, Tony Barnes, who wrote a song called Hold On, Reach Out, which is designed to raise money and awareness for fighting suicide in the military and veteran communities. Very proud of that. It's doing a lot of good work. They are not themselves a nonprofit, so they're not asking for anybody's money. They want to give money that's generated by the song. and other things like
Man,
selling the music,
But
selling the
you
instruments.
guys, like this is the marketer, and like you guys should be like teamed up with, you know, a big nonprofit with a huge email list where you can actually get that out and people can.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
We've done a little bit of work getting better at that, but it's still discovery learning. We're
Yeah.
still kind of figuring things out on
All
the
right,
fly.
hear me out, guys. Hollywood and Dan, are you even paying attention?
I was looking up Hold On, Reach Out.
So was
I was
I.
looking up Hold On, Reach
was
Out.
I.
Woo!
No,
Yes,
you-
I was paying attention.
Yeah, your Dan's texting some
Got it.
girl right now.
Hold On, Reach Out. Pulled up on my phone. Bam. Love
We
it when I'm
need
right.
to need to just right now commit to some collaboration with Robert.
I'm already committed to it.
I don't know what it is yet. I want it to be something ridiculous though. That's my ask is we do something ridiculous. And we also make some introductions to help with that song. But on the ridiculous side, I feel like we need to make the ultimate music video.
Oh my God.
I'm in. Well, 1,000 times
Hollywood?
yes.
What?
Are you in or are you out?
Dude, I've already been.
Because if I need if I
He's
if
already
I-
made 3
if I
videos
need,
in his
if
head.
I need
It's
to
a big
direct this shit, I will do
you
it.
even got here, I talked to him about doing this on my own without you.
Oh, I see how it is.
one. Yeah, originally it was just going to be
I
the
see.
3 of us.
I see how it is.
We already got a deal.
I see how it is.
I've signed the
Dan
contract.
Roberts
It's in your
and I
inbox.
have a deal, bro.
I'm gonna say
whoops.
something. You are only the second veteran that I have ever met that does not print veteran at all.
Wow.
There is nothing about you on the surface that prints 26 years in special
Absolutely
operations. Like
Wow.
nothing. You remind me of one of my best friends. His name is Randy Lalo. And
Lalo?
Randy was
Low
enlisted.
altitude, low opening.
No, a
He's
nice
a low-key man.
Filipino boy. He was enlisted and then went to West Point. We went to all the infantry shit together, and then we both ended up in Germany, and we were roommates. Nate Eldridge, Randy Lalo, and myself. We rented a house. We pooled our resources and rented a big house that we wired with speakers so we could have parties. But
Nice.
also a musician, very talented musician. He's a guitar player first, and like he learned to sing to accompany his guitar. But he's written a lot of his own music. But he also has the same like, aw shucks, I was lucky enough to, like, like
Robert by far
Yeah.
is the humblest person we've had
I'm
on
telling
the
you,
show.
just like Randy's more of a dick though. Maybe Robert has that, but he's holding it back. But Randy has.
I'm suppressing
He has
so much.
he has the subtle jabs
does?
that he throws out there that like at first go under the radar, then your brain catches up and you're like, oh, you mother.
You know,
Wait a minute,
I was
that's,
going to wait till after the show, and I'm dead serious to say it, but Robert, really, you are a very nice guy. You were like,
Well, we don't know that. Maybe he's
no,
a serial
he's
killer.
I can tell this guy is a legitimately good dude. I've thoroughly enjoyed
Dude.
having
Why are
him
you
here.
knife handing
Man.
him right now?
I don't know. I'm just,
I respond well to threats.
yeah.
So-
No, I was going to
You're
say
a
after the
good
show, I
dude.
really enjoyed having you.
Dude.
You're a great guy, but I'll just tell you on air.
Thank you so much,
He's a
man.
good
Wow.
fucking guy.
Now I'm embarrassed. So
Robert, do we have permission to put Hold On, Reach Out on the show? Play a little bit of it?
100%. Thank you. Yes.
Then he sues us. He's not a
Yeah.
great guy at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Gotcha, suckers.
I'm just completely wrong. He's an asshole.
He's like, oh yeah, sure, put it out
Yeah.
there.
Dear
That'll
Jason,
be $1
I got
million.
another one on the hook.
$1 million.
Yeah, we would. God, man, we would totally appreciate that. Yeah.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
What I always say is this particular mission, the task org is everybody. So anything that everybody does or can do, we would appreciate that. And I mean, it's not just about the song. You know, there are a lot of people, and really, this is to the point of the song. There are organizations, nonprofits out there already having success and doing this work, carrying the water for the cause. We are not those people. So when people try to donate to the song, like that's not even a thing. We just direct them to these organizations that are out there having the most success in this fight.
But you have to. I'm telling you, that's not the way to think about it. You have to have a portal, even if it's through another nonprofit, so that people can take direct action. because if I hear your thing and I'm like, hey, I want to help, and you're like,
You got to go here.
you got to go here. I'm like, especially this generation now.
Good point.
People are like, ugh,
Yeah.
I've already
Oh,
fallen.
I'm
I'm
gonna do
already
this.
on
I've already
to the
clicked
next
one
thing.
link.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like,
Couldn't possibly click
yeah.
one link.
Okay,
My-
I love
I have to
this.
put in my email address.
my clicking thumb is tired.
Yeah.
You know, like,
No, you're 100% right.
do you hear that? Hollywood just said I was 100% right. I don't think I've ever heard him say that my entire life. Usually it's a yeah, but.
When you're right, you're right.
Yeah, but.
Make it easier.
All right.
We could use this help. Yes.
Tell us one time you were mean to someone, because I can't handle this
Oh my God.
golden boy bullshit that you're feeding us right now.
I have been, definitely not a golden boy. Certainly there are people out there right now watching this being like, well, let me just tell you, it took me a long time to grow up. So because of that, it took me a long time to figure out this is the person that I want to be. And I've been just a shit to some people in my past. You know, I've not made it around to apologize to those people personally. Maybe I'll say yet, but for sure, man, there are things, there are misgivings that I have in my past that lead me to try and do the best I can to make up for those things. So that's the path that I'm on right now. I fail at this every day, but I'm still trying. So I don't have a story to tell you about something shitty I've done, but trust me, I've done those things.
Are we going to allow that? We're going to let him.
Because I appreciate that. Because if you had a bad past, you can't pick out one thing you did that was fucked up.
Yeah.
You just it all goes into the time that I was bad, and I'm trying to not be that guy.
Yep.
Just like Sam Jackson.
I knew you were gonna go right into. I'm trying hard to be the shepherd. I knew exactly where you were going.
right, that's where I
this
got that
long
from.
soliloquy. The second you started with your bullshit soliloquy, Hollywood, I knew we were gonna end with Sam Jackson. I knew it.
Why wouldn't you take it there? That's my question.
This predictable motherfucker.
God, man. So that was evasive. But
Yeah, it was.
man, that's
Yeah,
the
it was.
deal.
Okay, thank you for that non-answer, sir.
You're very welcome.
All right. Anything else you want to tell us before we do the rapid fire round?
No.
All right.
No, I'm ready for rapid fire. Ooh, man.
All right. The first question is, picture this: a world where medical devices not only save lives, but also set new standards for design and usability. That's exactly what HDO Health is all about. They are the pioneers in developing innovative, life-saving, and cost-effective medical devices. They're on a mission to revolutionize healthcare with their groundbreaking creations. And let me tell you about their latest game changer, the Journikit. If you've ever worked in the medical field, you know just how crucial a reliable, functional tourniquet can be. With its innovative, user-centered design, it's setting a new gold standard for medical devices. It's not just a piece of equipment. It's a testament to innovation. HDO's team of experts has poured their knowledge and passion into crafting a device that's not only effective, but also easy to use under pressure. Whether it's an emergency situation or a planned procedure, you can trust the Journikit to perform flawlessly. So listeners, if you're a medical professional, a healthcare enthusiast, or simply someone who values groundbreaking advancement, you need to check out HDO Health. Visit their website at www.hdohealth.com to learn more about their innovative projects and the incredible impact they're making on the medical field.
Man.
All right, the first question is that we ask everyone, regardless of what's in the hat. Dan, did you put any music-specific things in here, or were you a lazy sack of shit?
Lazy sack of shit.
Okay, you're going to come up with 3 music-centric questions that you're going to ask sometime during. You can shout them out after any question I have, but the fact that you don't have any in here, I'm judging you. I just want you to know that. And you know I've judged that you've failed me.
Judge away.
Okay. What is the toughest animal that you think you could defeat in hand-to-hand combat?
The giraffe.
Really?
Yeah.
the hardest bones, the hardest organic matter on planet Earth is giraffe bone,
I did not know that.
and they're extremely heavy,
That's right.
and they stomp.
Hmm.
But like you're saying, full-grown giraffe, you can take it.
No. I was just trying to think of an animal, and I don't know why. Giraffe was the first thing that popped in my head, and I couldn't force it out.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I could probably defeat an alligator.
Yeah?
And this is all strategery.
That's a bold.
That's right.
How big of an alligator? What are we talking?
I mean, smallish. I'm
Like-
not talking
like a
about
s-
an
like a
18-footer.
like a 6-7 footer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I could do that.
What would be the strategy?
Approach from behind,
Yep.
jump on top,
Yep.
grab that mouth
Yep.
while it's closed. I think it
Yep.
seems like it's easier to keep it closed if it's
Yeah.
already closed. And then just probably, I don't know, I would think go through the eye socket to get to something that I
get
can
to the
scramble up that's just renders
Robert,
it.
You're very lucky. We happen to have a 6-foot alligator.
I think PETA would sue us, but I,
I
like
didn't
where
bring
your
you
head's
guys
at.
anything, but I'm okay.
All right. Here we go. Rapid fire questions. Name your top 3 favorite cars.
Man, okay. I'm not a car guy. Couldn't care less what I
You
personally
know what?
drive.
You know what then? You know what? Let's
Yeah.
change it.
Okay.
Top 3 favorite bands.
Okay.
You got to be quick though. We
Yeah,
can't.
you're
we
right.
can't
You're
dilly-dally.
right. Number 1 is Metallica, and
yeah.
the Metallica I'm talking about is everything before the Black Album. Not that I don't like the other stuff,
I fucking
but
knew
it's
you.
my
I
favorite.
knew you were gonna say that.
Really?
I did.
Okay.
I did know you were gonna say that.
Okay, nice. So
Yeah.
that's one. Gosh, be quick, Rob. Now I'm having I'm blanking names of bands that I
Can't
love.
even name 3 bands.
Yeah.
You call yourself a musician.
Yeah, right. Okay. Styx.
Okay.
All right. I love their Todd Zuckerman, the drummer, just amazing. So, and then the last one I'm going to say, kind of something maybe cheesy to some people, but the B-52s.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What's one job nobody could pay you enough to do?
God, I'd probably do anything. Nobody could pay me enough to go back on active duty in the military right now.
That's fair.
What song, album, or concert most formed you as a musician?
Quick.
Song, yeah, gosh. I Remember You by Skid Row.
Damn.
Yeah, it came out when I
know.
was in basic training, and for whatever reason, like I love that song. Sebastian Bach is one of the greatest
Every
singers ever
endless
made.
day, I wanna hear
Yeah.
you say, "Hit it."
Yeah, I Remember You.
Oh, that,
I don't have his range, or I also don't sound like him.
what's
but
your
I love
go-to
that.
karaoke song?
Oh man, an Elton John song, "Candle in the Wind."
Hit us
Love
with
it.
10 seconds of it. Go. Give us your best. Commit.
And I would have liked to known you, but I was just a kid. Your candle burned out long before your legend ever did.
Keep going. Keep going.
Your candle burned out long before your legend ever did. Thank you for that. I had no idea that was about to come out, but I asked for it.
It's my favorite app.
God, it's a good app.
Major or minor scale?
God, I'm not a music theory guy, so I'm going to say minor.
Okay, reverb or no reverb on the vocals?
Reverb, man.
Oh, thank you.
I need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, I love it.
I love
I think you
just
just I think he just gave us the best 10 seconds of karaoke we've had. I mean, I don't think it's even close.
Well, I mean,
What fictional character do you think you're most like?
The Liger.
What's the worst piece of advice you've ever been given?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm terrible at this.
no, you're not.
Yeah.
No,
worst
he-
piece of
he
advice
is.
I've ever been given is the best thing you could do is just, find something that you love and, follow that. And that's going to be the secret to life.
You think that's the worst piece of advice?
I actually do think that that's the worst piece of advice. And I would
Now, this
not
is
have said
supposed-
that
this is
until
supposed to
very
be a short
recently.
question, but I'm gonna ask you to expound on that.
I don't remember who it was, but I heard somebody talking about this particular topic, and I just thought, man, you know what? That's exactly right. So do follow your dreams, but like you got to find some way to be productive, and you're not going to be great at it right away, but you gotta fucking do it, and you got to stick to that, and you're going to get better. And then that will later on give you the ability to then find what you love, and then maybe give you, you can do that and make a life out of that. So
Yeah, I'm with you. So there's the fallacy of perpetual happiness.
yeah.
I warn
Oh,
I
man.
warn people about this all the time
Yep.
because I've had a relatively happy life. I've generally been content with what I'm doing, and that being said, a lot of misery too, and
Yeah.
it comes with the territory. Like you have to earn the things that you want, and they don't come easy. If they came easy, then everybody would be doing it. And
Yeah.
so going back to my Ranger Up days, it was a blast to make content and to have people enjoy what we did, and to go to the UFC fights and see people in our apparel. It was not a blast to do inventory forecasting. It was not a blast to figure out how to get financing because we were growing. It was not a blast. Like none of that stuff was fun.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's no Ranger Up without it, right?
That's right.
Similarly, the business we're doing now, there's a lot that is great about it. And then there are other challenges, right? Like it's hard. I enjoy it as a whole, but like this whole, you never work a day in your life. Like I work my ass off
Right.
all the time.
Right.
And sometimes you work your ass off and you don't get rewarded, and you have to be okay with that,
Yep.
so
That's
I'm
right.
with you on the concept.
Yeah.
I do think you should follow what you love, but I do think that it is silly to think,
You're gonna love 100% of it.
or even that.
Yeah.
So this is the other thing, right? You love music,
Yep.
and I can tell without even asking you, there is a good chance you're never going to get rich doing this,
Yeah.
but you're doing it anyway, and
Yeah.
you enjoy it anyway. If you do get rich, it'll be a bonus.
Yeah.
If you don't get rich, you at least need a structure so that you can make enough to live. That's the
right.
goal, right? Do
Yep.
what you love, make enough to live.
Yeah.
But if you suddenly couldn't, you would get another job.
Yep.
So that is the thing, is you have to be willing to suffer to do that thing. If you are, it's good. But if the idea is I'm a musician, I'm going to make it big, maybe you don't really love music as much as you think you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to be big more than you
want
do
to
want
be
to be
big more than you
music.
want to be.
Yeah, I mean, and if
Yeah.
if you're making enough to live doing any form of art,
You're lucky.
you're in the top 0.1%.
Not lucky, but
yeah,
you're fortunate.
to be
You're
a
fortunate.
professional and make a living doing that, you are in the top 1% of
100%.
artists,
Yeah,
0.1%.
yeah.
So don't I have a friend who just now he's a painter, and that's all he's doing now, and I'm like, dude, and he's like, I could be making more. I'm like, dude, you're painting full time. You're in the top 0.1% of painters. You got to be proud of that,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's about perspective sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoa!
Dan
I like that.
coming
Whoa!
coming out of nowhere.
Woo!
That's a better way to put what I said. Yeah. The words just weren't coming but you got exactly what I was talking about.
All right, we're
That's
doing
right.
the longest short answer questions we've ever had.
I know,
If you could invite 3 people to dinner, living or dead, fiction, nonfiction, who would they be?
King Kamehameha.
No,
My grandpa
Hetfield?
Bozarth.
That is a great name. I'm going to name something Bozarth from here on out.
And I would say my dachshund Chili, who passed.
So I guess James Hetfield's invitation got lost in the mail.
Yeah, that's right.
What would be your weapon of choice in the zombie apocalypse? Be as specific as possible.
Okay. It would be a weapon that might not exist, but I want it to exist. And the Last Starfighter, that thing, that spaceship that could go Death Blossom and just spin and shoot seemingly unlimited rounds of lasers.
This is the best answer that we've ever received.
Holy
Thank you very much.
He pulled the Last Starfighter.
Death Blossom.
Yeah.
A death blossom.
What is the most interesting place you've ever been to?
Mongolia.
Dream concert bill.
Great wrestling in Mongolia. Great wrestling.
Yes.
Opener and lead act. Dream concert bill.
The more I try to hurry myself, the slower I'm going. You son of a bitch, Dufresne.
Cut this up.
Okay.
Or we're
All
gonna
right.
make it
I like
twice as
that.
long.
Thank you.
We'll make it twice as long.
Milk it.
Dream,
We've
billing, opening, and headliner. So I wanna see Fleetwood Mac open for.
Metallica.
Yeah, I already got them in there, so they're automatically out. Fleetwood Mac opens for Rage Against the Machine.
Ooh, I love it.
Which
good
Fleetwood
answer.
Mac album?
Gosh, I'm terrible at album names. The cover's white. The cover's
Probably a
white
good
that I'm
name for an
thinking of.
album.
Yeah,
The cover's
I'm-
white.
I'm terrible with.
Look it up. Find out what it
Be
is.
edgy. That should be the name. The
band's
cover's
on,
white.
The band's on the cover. White cover with
I know exactly what you're talking
with Mick
about.
Fleetwood and
Mick standing right there.
yeah.
Rumors?
No, it's true. Did you see the
You were
setup
waiting.
for that long joke?
You were waiting.
I knew exactly what album it was.
I knew I should have gone with Tusk.
That was such a long setup. Woo!
Lying
It's the
in wait.
best thing that's ever happened to me on this show.
You were nestled.
What's your
At that
favorite
point.
age so far?
51.
All right. What celebrity would you most like to switch lives with, and you can't give a wuss answer like,
I love my life so much, I would never switch.
Yeah, good call. Will Ferrell.
that's a great one.
Yeah, he's just
Favorite book you've read in the last year?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
It's a good
Well,
book.
that's twice in. That's
It's a good book. It's a good book. It's important. What's your guilty pleasure or something you're embarrassed to admit you like?
My guilty pleasure is like ABBA.
Nice.
Listening to ABBA,
I'll tell you,
loving the music that ABBA created.
I used to when I ran in the past when I was a young man, I used to run to like angry shit, like Eminem, like you gotta use, like working hard and just and I have switched it up because what I found is that as an older man, like I can still run like a good mile, but like I can't keep that up anymore like I used to be able to. And I found that the angry music makes you like sprint unnecessarily. ABBA, it just keeps you like happy. And it's like, hey,
Relax.
We're hitting 9s today, and you're just like, you can dance. And you don't feel like, it's not like I got to go faster. I don't have anyone to impress because I'm
Yep.
listening to ABBA.
That's right.
Like, that's where it's at. Like, let's put some ABBA greatest hits on and run.
God, man. Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
I am not a runner anymore.
I hate running, but-
but I think that I could run to ABBA probably a lot more easily than, harder music or no music
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I basically have to do like running or rucking. I just like it. I don't enjoy it, but it's necessary for me not to die.
Nice.
Like lifting I can always do and it's easy and I enjoy lifting. but like I know that I need cardiovascular exercise, and so I have to commit to it. ABBA makes it easier. That's all I'm saying.
I have yet to commit to it, but also I do recognize. Yeah,
Try a little.
You want to last?
Try a little ABBA's Greatest Hits. See what happens. See if it changes your way of looking at
You
life.
can knock out just amazing cardio in like 15 minutes though if you just did, did a little rower, sprint, bike, circuit, and it's better than running like 5 miles.
I hate running so much.
Yeah,
I might try that.
I despise
circuits are the
Yeah.
best for cardio.
It's the worst thing ever.
And I was a good runner.
Yeah.
Like I was a good runner back in the not like elite, but like like a 10:38 2-mile.
Okay. Wow.
So, like,
to
that
me,
was-
that's
That
elite.
is-
yeah.
that's
That was
good.
my
That's really
that was
good.
my
Wow.
that was my best.
My
Yeah.
gosh.
So-
I was never a good runner. Even as an 18-year-old Ranger, not a good runner. Hated it. Still
Yeah.
hate it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to follow your advice. I'm going to
circuits,
try
man.
find
Now,
something that I can
a
do.
10:38 1 mile is I'm fine with it.
I really would
Yeah,
be
just
too.
keep that
I
pace.
rarely
You know?
run that long anymore. I do quarter miles sometimes, but yeah, I usually do 45-second intervals. That's a good, you get enough, 4 rounds. I picked 4 different things, 45 seconds, 4 rounds. Try that. Rower.
Hey,
Okay, I love that.
Hey, Hollywood, quick question. Are we on the Dan Tells Us How to Exercise podcast right now?
Well, he is an exercising expert.
Boom.
Because if he doesn't exercise every day,
He's a sad panda.
the serial killer frequency spikes immediately.
Anxiety.
Okay.
All right. Let's close this out. Do you want to, since you've taken over the show, do you want to close this out?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, close this out, Dan.
Well,
Hold on a second.
folks.
Wait a second. I have to text Dan something really quick before he closes it out.
Why? Why are you texting in the middle of our show?
Hold on, I wrote it down.
Hollywood, are you not paying attention at all?
Oh, I'm totally paying attention.
Is the camera on?
The cameras are on.
These cameras aren't even real.
These cameras. That's right. Hang on just 1 second. Excuse me.
Did we just have a conversation for no reason? What's happening right now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's all right.
Hollywood just trying to get on camera. Just trying to weasel his way into the big screen.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for joining us this week. That was the Neutral Position with the formidable Nick Palmisciano. Thanks to the lovely Mr. Dufresne for joining us. Truly kind man whose jib I love the cut of. This has been the Dan Mercer Show, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.